Hello and welcome to today's video. Today we are here and it's another episode of the Racing Debrief. Now this is a weird episode because it's the only episode of the Racing Debrief all year that has only F1 until the end of the NASCAR season. It's the only week that there's F1 and no NASCAR. So a little bit different. Of course, the Racing Debrief focuses on both F1 and NASCAR, but we do tend to lean more towards the NASCAR side of things for the series. But it's F1 weeks to shine on the channel. So, yeah, let's dive into it. Belgian Grand Prix. Now, Belgian Grand Prix is typically a interesting one. I mean, it's one of the historic tracks. It's one of the, the tracks that when you think of iconic Formula One, it's there. It's the tracks that when people are like, oh, we should take off tracks or add tracks or whatever. It's the one that people always say, no, we got to keep it. Right, it's one of like the 4 or 5 that people always say is required, and it always lives up to the hype of it. I mean, the racing product is what it is. But overall, I do think it was a good race. I mean, I think that shortening the DRS zone, the main DRS zone, at the top of the hill, the long straight there, I don't think was necessarily the right move. I think that obviously the cars still need help with passing and all that stuff, so I think shortening the DRS zone isn't necessarily the right move, but we'll gloss over that. The race itself, you had Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez on the front row. Max Verstappen qualified fastest, but he had a 10-place grid penalty for new engine components, so he ended up starting in 11th. So you had that excitement, how far would Max go up the field. I think a lot of people, myself included, think he would go through the field a little bit more. Obviously, he did that the last 2 years. The car now is not as strong as it was. Obviously, there's an element of the driver and the car together, as we've seen with the way that Checo performed. He ended up finishing in 8th. So, you see that a little bit, but, that's whatever. Again, I do think that you have to be in the best driver in one of the, top 2 best cars to really drive through the field. I think probably even the best car to be able to go from 10th, 11th, 14th to 1st, right, which Max did last year. Just the car wasn't there this year to do that. I mean, the Red Bull's 2nd, 3rd best car, probably 3rd best. I mean, the Mercedes obviously killed it. But yeah, so strategy throughout the race, a lot of it was going to be a 2-stop race. It seemed that way with the hard tires and the medium tires. I mean, nobody used softs, I don't really think at all. Unless Checo did at the very end when he did his fastest lap run, he might have thrown on softs. I didn't see that, but I don't really think anybody else used softs throughout the race, right? Everybody's on hards or mediums. So, front of the field, I mean, there wasn't too much passing. Further back, you had a few overtakes here or there, but really a lot of the action came through the pit stops, right? Who was going to pit? The undercut obviously being a strong move. And you've seen a lot of that throughout the field, right? So you had sort of Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc in their own little group, and then more towards the front you had Lewis Hamilton, George Russell. Carlos Sainz was in that before he made a stop, and then you had Oscar Piastri in that. So that was kind of your 6 there. And then you had Sainz and Checo. That was really the main groups, especially after the second pit stop, after everybody did their undercuts and all that stuff. So the thing was, George Russell did 1 stop, all right, compared to everybody else. He thought, now we can make this tires last, which obviously was a good call. George Russell goes on to win the race. Lewis Hamilton got very, very close, but again, I think with the shortened the DRS zone, he just didn't have a shot at him, right? That really hurt him because he only made, 1 move there. But I think had the DRS zone been longer like it was last year, he would have been able to make, another move for the win. So, again, it's unfortunate that we're not seeing the cars being able to overtake each other just purely based on who's better, on track. Because Lewis clearly had the advantage, but you get stuck behind someone, you can't do anything. And it's really, again, unfortunate to rely on that stuff. And it honestly seems like we're going to see even more reliant on parts of the car moving in 2026. So it's a bit unfortunate to see it going that way instead of less stuff. You're going to have the front wings and the rear wings be able to move. Just a bit unfortunate in that aspect. But either way, for the race itself, again, Lewis Hamilton not able to pass George Russell. So George Russell gets his third career win, and it's all great. He celebrates. Everybody's happy. Mercedes got a 1-2. Toto Wolff's on FaceTime, and Checo's going to lose the seat, and everybody's loving it. And we're good. Great race, right? So that's what we thought. Right, it's over, and obviously they do their post-race stuff, and I was out at a restaurant, and it's Mom's birthday. Actually, this video was out. It's her birthday, so it's very exciting. Happy birthday. I know she's not going to watch it, but still happy birthday either way. So her birthday, day the video goes out. We were out restaurant for her birthday, and I was watching the U.S. basketball men's team playing. So I was watching on my phone. I watched it on the TV and then we had to go, so I watched the rest of it on my phone. We sit down at the table, and the basketball game ends, and I open X, just to see, what's everyone's reaction to the basketball game. That's what I want to see. And it's, I forgot which one was first, if Lewis Hamilton wins or George Russell disqualified. But seeing that, tell my mom, obviously she's excited about it. Lewis Hamilton's her favorite driver. My dad's excited. Charles Leclerc gets a podium. So they were both excited about it. But, obviously explaining it was interesting, right? And then the fun part of it was my brother showing up. He's also a fan of Lewis Hamilton. He watched the race, but, he had to drive to the restaurant, so he didn't see it on his phone. I tell him, he sits down, I'm like, so do you like Lewis Hamilton's win? He's like, disappointed, obviously. Lewis got second. I was like, no, he won, got disqualified. George Russell got disqualified. So, seeing his reaction and, excitement to that was, was cool. Again, I think Lewis Hamilton was the better driver. I think that the fact that the cars can't pass really was the factor in that. He had the better drive, better car, or better tires, right? So he was the better of the two in that race. So, him winning it, I think it is deserved. You're going to say, we got disqualified. George Russell, 1.5 kilograms underweight. So just a little bit. The thing about it is, had it been at any other racetrack, he would have been fine. Right? He would have been all good. Because they do a cooldown lap, you can pick up rubber on your tires, add some weight back. But at that track, since it's so long, a lap of the track is almost 2 minutes. It's like a minute 45, right? So if you're going at slowdown speed, it's going to take you 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes, even maybe 4, depending on how slow you drive around the track on a cooldown lap. So there is no cooldown lap. It's just cross the line, turn into the pits. So you don't have time to pick up rubber on the car, any of that stuff. So there's also the fact that he went on one set of tires compared to everybody else. So the weight of the tire is going to be less because the rubber's so worn out from doing 30 laps compared to, doing 14 laps, 15 laps. So very interesting element there. But, I think that, Lewis Hamilton getting the win's cool. And awesome, obviously, to say what he celebrated. So for other things from the race, Checo, obviously, I think he's got to go. I think time's up for him. Now, I've thought, let's get rid of him for a while. I'm, a fan of Red Bull. My favorite driver on the team is Max Verstappen. My favorite Formula 1 driver is Max Verstappen. But when it comes down to I want Red Bull to win, right? I want to have their drivers both be winning, both be successful, the team winning. Red Bull as a brand is what I want to see win and see successful, right? I mean, I got the Red Bull flag. I have a Red Bull, sign here that's just Red Bull, right? Energy drink, Red Bull. So, just in general, I want to see Red Bull winning, right? If Max isn't winning, I want the second driver to win. And we haven't seen that, right? We've seen the second driver, throughout the years, honestly, struggle since Daniel Ricciardo left. Really, since 2019, that second car hasn't been successful, right? Pierre Gasly was complete trash. Alex Albon was slightly better, but not much. And then Checo has just, regressed, right? There's been no improvement. I mean, he got, his race win in 2020 when he was with Racing Point. Brilliant. Cool. He's going to come to Red Bull. He's got one race win now. He's got that experience of winning a race, right? All that's great. Obviously, he's an experienced driver. 2022 or 2021 Azerbaijan, he's able to get the win. Max has the tire blowout. Lewis Hamilton locks up his wheels or doesn't have the brake bias set for the race restart. Cool. Checo gets his win with Red Bull. That's brilliant. And then we go to 2022, and he comes out and Checo gets a few wins there. I don't remember where he won, but he got a few wins in 2022. 2023, he's the only driver besides Max to get 2 wins. But second half of 2023, he's starting to fall off. And I mean, realistically, throughout even 2021, he wasn't as close. I mean, people are going to say Abu Dhabi, 2021, he was able to help Max stay close towards the end of the race and, slow up Lewis with his pit strategy. But, I mean, for the most part, he hasn't been there to pick up the pieces, right? If Max is out of a race, Checo should at least be in a spot. And there's been so many times that Red Bull didn't win a race if something happened to Max, right? Obviously, 2023 is an exception because, every race Max pretty much won besides 3. And one of them, the Red Bull car, was just trash in Singapore. And then, Checo did win the other 2. So, that doesn't matter. But 2022, there's moments that, Checo should have picked up the pieces. And this year, I mean, Australia, really? The Ferraris pulled away. You got, 5th? Austria, Lando Norris drives into Max Verstappen. Max gets, 5th, gets a penalty because the FAA wanted to give him a penalty for whatever driving. We're not going to get into that race again. But, Max got a penalty and still finished ahead of Checo. Checo couldn't pass a Haas. Like, come on. And again, Belgium, okay, this is the last chance. Even, last week in Hungary, puts it on the barriers in qualifying. Okay, cool. Hungary's last chance, or Belgium's last chance. Prove you should be on this team. Brilliant. You go out and qualify 3rd. Okay, you're in 2nd now. Max got his grid penalty. You should go up there and be on the podium. What's he do? Finish 8th. Max goes up from 11th to 5th. Checo should have been in a spot where George Russell gets disqualified and he can elevate himself to either the win or to 2nd or 3rd. But no. George Russell gets disqualified, he elevates himself to where? 7th. Come on. He's just not doing anything for the team. And I think that you bring in Daniel Ricciardo, right? Which is the rumor. Daniel Ricciardo's going to be in that spot. And, most likely that's what's going to happen. I've seen things about him getting, potentially a contract for just, do what you got to do this season. And that's kind of what I want to see, right? I want to see Daniel Ricciardo in there because I don't think Daniel Ricciardo does worse than Checo, right? And this is something my brother and I have been talking about for a few weeks. And, he said it to me. That Ricciardo isn't going to do worse than Checo. He's going to do the same or better. And I think that's an agreeable thing. I don't think there's going to be a moment where Ricciardo comes out and gets 12th in a race that Checo would have got 8th, right? I think that Ricciardo's a better driver. He's more talented. Put him in that spot and see what he does, right? Obviously, he's going to be in a good position with that team. I don't think that he's going to struggle too much to get used to it. So put him in that spot and let's see what happens. And I think, you get Liam Lawson in there. Put Liam Lawson in the RB. So then you have Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda in the RB, and then, you evaluate whatever happens. That's how you determine 2025, but I think Checo's got to go. I mean, maybe you put Checo in the RB and you guarantee Liam Lawson the spot next year somewhere within a team, right? And say you're going to be in RB next year, because obviously they don't buy, I think, the end of September, his contract, he's free to go wherever. So, you say this is our lineup, right? You put him in the RB, you put Ricciardo, tentatively in Red Bull for 2025, right? And you can switch them whenever you want. I mean, most of those drivers in Red Bull, their contract is with Red Bull, and they can be put in any team they want, right? So that's what I would expect to see. And I think Checo, you got to get ready to learn Chinese, buddy. That's my opinion on it. So there's that. As for other things in the race, again, I think that we haven't seen this become a championship fight, right? I think that the constructors, it's definitely on. Max hasn't won a few races. Obviously, Checo's been struggling, like we just discussed. I think constructors can be on for that. What I don't necessarily think could be on is a driver's championship. I think that Max Verstappen just has to keep finishing ahead of Lando Norris, which he's been able to do. I don't think Lando's that guy, right? I don't. You're not that guy, pal. It's a great meme. But, no, I don't think Lando's that guy. I really don't. I think that he's soft and overrated. I think that if you are him, right, if you are the dude, you got to go past Max at the end of that race. I really think that Lando not passing Max kind of solidifies where the championship's going, right? Max is in a slower car, older tires. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to go up there and pass him, right? It's not the situation necessarily where it was the Mercedes where they were the same car, just one's on worse tires. It's going to be a little harder to pass. The McLaren is faster than the Red Bull. That's obvious. Go up there and make that pass. If you're supposed to be the guy fighting for the championship and this guy that everybody's like, oh, he's going to be amazing, go do something, right? Lando doesn't do anything besides just struggle and cry to everybody and blame everybody else. I think that I think he's super overrated. I think he's obnoxious. Him winning Miami was terrible. Not a good day. And I think that, I don't see this being a championship fight. Right? I don't see it as that. I don't think Lando's that guy that can go up there and beat Max for championship. If anyone's going to, I think it's Oscar Piastri. Right? I think he's more of that dude. Right? I think a lot of the young drivers that you see that they're hyping up for the last 5 years, Lando Norris, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, I don't think that they're really that impressive, to be honest. There's nothing that's really stood out from any of them that says, oh yes, this guy's a world champion, right? None of them I look at and say that's a generational talent, right? You look at Max, he's generational talent, all-time great. You put him up there with Lewis Hamilton, Michael Schumacher, he's in that group. Right, all the record books typically show those drivers' names, right? And sometimes Sebastian Vettel, Ayrton Senna. Those are the 5 guys that typically have their names in the record books. And again, typically it's Hamilton, Schumacher, Verstappen, or sometimes it's Schumacher, Hamilton, Verstappen. But it's typically in that order with those 3. Those are the 3 greatest Formula 1 drivers ever. And they try to compare those other guys to Max, but they're not in that all-time elite group, right? I don't think they're going to go out there and be better than him or beat him in a race, necessarily, in this current situation. And I just don't think that saying Lando's going to go up there and be that guy, because he hasn't proven it. And I don't think that he's going to go out and win the championship this year. I really don't. I think that next year you start on equal points. It's whatever. But Red Bull was really, really good to start the season. Something's happened. And if they can figure that out in the next few weeks, they have obviously part of the summer break. They got a few weeks off. But not the whole time is off. I think it's only like 3 of the 4 weeks. So they have some time in there. Work on something, figure something out. I think they can come back and be dangerous again. But either way, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be back 2 weeks for the racing debrief. We're talking about NASCAR Richmond. It will be the Cup Series that week. I think the trucks are there, but we haven't talked about the trucks in a while. So, NASCAR Cup Series at Richmond, 2 weeks. Of course, there's no racing next week. F1's in the summer break, and NASCAR has another week off for the Olympics. Of course, the Olympics are on NBC, which is the broadcast partner for NASCAR. So the Summer Olympics becomes their focus. So, no racing debrief next week. I believe we have GT Online Garage Tour filling up the spot. Just came with some little different, little extra. So, we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Again, make sure you guys check out all the content in August. We're doing 2 uploads every day. So, go over YouTube, X, 2 videos a day. Make sure you subscribe or follow or whatever one you're on. Check it out. So we'll see you guys 2 weeks for the Racing Debrief. But until then, plenty of content for you guys to check out on YouTube and on X. See you guys in the next one.